All right, you got
Paul Myers,
Denise Myers.
Road Warrior Investors.
Yes, we are.
Colorado.
We've made it to Denver. It's cold. It's cold.
It's like Boise. It's not like home. You get it.
We have a very special guest with us today. We have Paul with us today, and we're at one of your houses you've already rehabbed. It's on the market.
Yes, it's on the market.
So
Yeah, it sounds like it's getting the showings
market
today,
for a little
too.
bit. This is in North Park Hill, Denver. And yeah, this is the duplex that is occupied. I already sold that late last year.
Wow.
Now trying to sell this. Been on
All
the
right.
market for a little bit. Yeah, let's go check it out. Give you some context. This is a half of a duplex, about 1,000 feet on the main level, about 900 square feet on the bottom. 4-bedroom, 2-bath. 2 of those bedrooms are non-conforming bedrooms down in the basement. And this is for $519. Let's give you some perspective
Nice.
on price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and that's just for the one half.
That's just for the
That's
one
just for
half.
this.
If this 1,000 up, 900 down, 4-bedroom, 2-bath detached home, you're looking in the mid to high sixes. So this
Okay.
is discounted from that for obvious reasons.
Is that kind of median price in this area, you think, for houses?
Starter home
generally?
in Denver is now at the $500,000 mark.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah, for a detached home. Again, this is an attached
Nice.
home, but detached home, you're going to have a hard press finding something that's been rehabbed. I would say under 450, rehabbed, detached. You're looking at a very small house, probably 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Yeah.
Here we are. I'll kind of give you a brief rundown of some of the things that we did. This was a pretty full fix. So give a little backstory of this came in as a lead, and the woman owned both sides of this. She bought it quite a few years ago, and she was having difficulty making the payments.
Okay.
The next door neighbor was a family member, and so she was having a difficult time, saying I need rent.
Families.
Yeah. Her real pain point and where I felt like I could help was that she really wanted to stay in this spot. And she knew that if it ended up going to foreclosure, not only would she have foreclosure on her record, the likelihood of being able to stay in here afterwards is nil, probably. So we worked out a deal where I was able to rent back from her. Or she was able to rent back from me. That's really what happened. So
How long did she rent back from you for?
I bought this in 2020, and she just left last year.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so when she left, that's what the catalyst for me fixing this up for and putting on the market.
Well, that's great, though. I mean, you were really there to help her in numerous ways, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. This was April of 2020, so that was still when people thought the world might end and everything like that. And so I went and met with her, and she really had no way of making the payments without potentially kicking out the family member and going to find a renter. And even then, I'm not sure, but it just wasn't something that she was prepared to do. And part of that deal is I also kept him in place, and I was able to have a conversation with him and get some rent from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of it. That other side is not as big as this.
And you've got lots of showings scheduled for today, too.
I do, thankfully, because this has been on the market for 6 months.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Is that normal
No.
market time?
This market is definitely slow right now.
Yeah.
And late last year, there's a lot of things going on that made it slow, and interest rates aren't helping. But that was unusual, and it's something that was very unexpected. All of the feedback has been generally good.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic.
The small family room is one consistent feedback.
Can't really change that.
Yeah, and then the fact that it's attached. Other than that, love the finishings, great job. But
Your price point, though, should depict
it does
that. I mean, yes, you have a wall in between, but it's not 600,000 plus like you talked about.
Correct,
if it was a single family.
I do think which is why in 6 months I haven't done one price reduction. I don't think it's necessarily the price. Obviously, if I drastically reduced it, that would
price cures everything.
That would elicit some action. But if I'm doing little tiny price reductions, I'm just painting myself in the corner. That's my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah. And I know we've been seeing across the country, even back home, once you have it under contract, the concessions start coming in.
Correct.
Too, so.
Repairs
and I feel like concessions and inspection objections and rate buy downs, they're going to happen regardless of the price point. So you're really just going to
Smart.
I'd rather take a lower offer from the higher price than take a lower offer from the lower price. So, and I do think it's priced appropriately. I look at MLS every week just to make sure I'm not completely off base.
Yeah,
and
that's an investor tip.
That's a great
Especially when
project.
you have something on the market, you watch your close.
Oh, Yeah,
You don't want 3 identical houses listed at the same time for
correct.
cheap.
Yeah, I always look at inventory. I always look at probably like what's actually trading, what's sitting there. Again, it's a lot of people like it, just no one has pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah.
I've gotten a couple of people that wanted to put in offers, but they were contingent, and they were contingent on their home selling that weren't even under contract yet. So I couldn't lock it down for that long.
Yeah.
But we finished this hardwood.
Yeah, that looks
Okay.
great.
Yeah, we finished the original hardwood.
Darker finish.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. This is the Jackal Bean.
Yeah.
This is typically what I do
Yeah.
in most of my finishes. I try to keep the original hardwood when I can and when it makes sense. These Denver homes, some of them have really beautiful brick inside.
Yeah.
I really try to keep that if I can.
That nice and good cove ceilings and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is old school ceilings. We kept it and then we decided just to paint the same color.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we'll paint interior a little bit different, but this one was more of like keep it simple.
Basic and simple,
Yeah.
but that's what people like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's good. Refloored kitchen, new flooring.
New flooring on the kitchen.
Yeah, excuse the dirt. I guess he's had some showings since I've been able to.
I mean, it's
This
a
is
very large
nice.
kitchen.
Yeah, it's a nice big kitchen.
You can still put a table here if somebody really wanted.
Yeah, newer cabinetry, obviously new appliances, and
Yeah, like that. Typical for it.
yeah,
And we see this all of it everywhere in the country. It's all the finishes.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Well, it's
Florida all the way to here.
so easy to maintain.
Yeah.
At least for my supplier, it's relatively well priced. It's one of those things that significantly added cost,
Yeah.
but buyers really like it, and it lasts a while. You don't have to worry about maintaining it like granite.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
probably don't maintain their granite, but they really should, and that's of course don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is nice. What all did you have to do in the kitchen for the refresh?
House is everything. Does that describe it? Yeah.
It was well done good before.
Yeah, it was lived in. It was lived in. Flooring, I don't remember if we tore out the original flooring or if this is just on top, quite frankly. I think we probably tore it out because it was probably an older tile. Yeah, we just kind of tore out everything.
Yeah.
Refreshed it.
Yeah, refreshed it. I had my electrician come in here and take a look at everything. So he redid the electrical. All those circuit breakers were working. That's an old school milk box.
What is this?
This is where you used to get milk delivered back in the day.
In the back of the house, though.
Yeah.
Really? He'd come around to the back?
Sure.
Or she? Or
Yeah.
milk person?
Yeah, there's an old school mailbox.
I
right
saw
there.
that too.
Yep, so that's the mailbox.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's called character.
Still used. Yeah.
Like the tile on the
Yeah.
windowsill. It's actually kind of unique. It's something
Yep.
I've not really seen it like this.
Oh, a tile?
I've seen a tile that's cheaply done, but this is
Yeah.
kind of unique.
But a lot of my fixes are really, if it makes sense, price point wise, budget wise, time frame wise, I really try to keep as much original as I can and just spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah. Decent backyard, too.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah, garage.
yeah, it's a
Nice.
nice sized yard, especially for a
And you got a garage back there.
attached home.
Yeah, for somebody that's
Nice.
young family or
Nice.
wants to start off.
Yeah.
Retiree.
Absolutely.
Now, how long have you been a real estate investor, Paul?
January 1st, 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
He knows today, so it's like.
Yeah, that was my first month of advertising with Homevestors.
Okay.
I was 100% green when I joined Homevestors.
What'd you do before?
Back in a previous life, I was an insurance agent.
Really?
But right before I did this, I was a distribution manager for a car magazine.
Yeah.
Kind of like an auto trader, but hard
Yeah.
copies that you get delivered to
Yeah.
a consumer, any sort of liquor store, anything.
Fun.
And I did that for 3 years while I did Homevestors. So I was
Okay.
part-time
Easy.
Homevestors for 3 years. Then I decided to go full-time and cut that out and just do it. In retrospect, I should have started full-time right away.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably the way to go if this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably good to not have a foot in each space.
Because
So.
you spread yourself too thin, so you can't do.
You do. I'm already
Very
spreading
well.
myself too thin just doing this. So,
I know, we get it.
but yeah, on that, it's low advertising, low leads. If you can handle it, get the experience, get the appointments, make your mistakes fast and furious. I've made so many mistakes in this business that I really feel like that's where you learn. And I feel like a lot of people that tell you how to do things, there's so many different ways to skin a cat. So it's kind of different to each skill set, personality, whatever. But the mistakes seem to be consistent. Like there's certain things you just don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I agree. So
There's a few mistakes that we all still make.
this is the existing. We boxed this
Yeah.
out to create these
Oh,
ducts right here. Yeah.
Don't you know or something?
Yeah, and we didn't want the naked ductwork, so we needed to create space in order to do the drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and create
Uh-huh.
that.
Got a little laundry room down
Yeah.
here?
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's the big one.
People like that story.
Yeah.
They do. People do other stuff.
And again, this is a situation where if it was a is a bigger budget and a bigger time.
As a real estate investor, though, you have to pick and choose your battles.
You really
where you
do.
put your money, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You probably could have get a return if you would have done that on this versus just leaving it.
only as retrospect, absolutely. Yeah, I don't ever anticipate 6 months, which is a great point. When I got in this business and you hear these people have been doing it for years about cash flow and make sure you have enough cash. I'm like, yeah, feel real. Especially back then in 2014 in the Denver area, you never had to worry about whether something would sell or not. It wasn't a concern. Fourth quarter of 2022, that changed.
It was February 22. All of a sudden,
Yeah, it was 2022. Rates went up, and then that became more of a consideration. Where it was a situation, and like, oh, I have to actually worry about that. So budget, time, get in, get out. My two main mantras when I fix up a house is make it safe and make sure everything works. Beyond that, let's see what we can do to make it a nice home for someone. I really try to stick to that part of the bell curve on buyers. I want to make a nice first home for somebody where they can rely on things working, being safe, but it's also a price point in their relative neighborhood or their relative market. They're not having to compete at the top of the house. Okay,
So if I was to net that out, sounds like you want to put out a good product.
A good product
and stand behind it.
at a good price. Have my fixes mirror where I need to be in price point. So I'd like to do a little bit less fixed than what you might see with other fixers, but then also be able to price it below the competition.
Sure.
Amenable to first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Let's get them in. Let's get them in the neighborhood. Start to build that equity. And I feel like that insulate me a little bit from this situation. I really feel is an outlier being on the market for 6 months.
Yeah.
But it helps insulate me from that because then I can look at comps and I used to get shocked when the prices are on the lower side. So
But it's good to hear you say that, though. You're looking for as you go and pick them up when you do rehab them. You want to make sure it's safe and it's a good home for someone.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, healthy,
We do the same.
I think it's all we do the same thing. That's sometimes to fix up, we'll skip a little bit on the finishes. Sometimes we have to.
Yeah.
Because something needs to be safe.
Like the roof for the plumbing.
Yeah, these came from another project.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you want to do with these? I'm like, I got enough stuff back in my garage. Let's put them in forestry.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way to do it.
this is it. And that's the sort of things we try to do and just spruce them up.
Well, this is great for a laundry room. It's
Yeah.
space filling full, and then you've got
Nobody complains when they have too much space. You know? This is too big or too much storage. Nobody complains about that. It's usually the opposite.
And this is something where we built out this wall. This was an exposed wall. And so we made sure we did the plumbing.
Yeah, I see that
framed it in. And then
even
just
the
make sure
textures of walls too.
Yeah, my guys are great at
Yeah, they do good
Yeah,
job.
they're really good at textures, which helps. It's just easier when you can.
It looks nice.
Have
Smells
everything.
good.
It also looks all fresh. It doesn't have tons of patching and
Correct,
grandpa's
yeah.
patching from years
Yeah.
ago and stuff. That
And you got
that's
two
terrible.
bedrooms down here and another
Two
bathroom.
bedrooms
Is that
down
right?
here. Yeah, we've got this is the mechanical room.
Mechanical.
You got another big room.
Yeah, cleaned it, painted it. Obviously, extended the flooring, sewn the flooring. Did an underlayment because it's a cement or it's a concrete floor. So did underlayment. So this is a smaller, little tiny bedroom.
That's okay. You do an office or something.
Yeah.
Or kids.
When we were doing the project, we called this the Jackson Pollock room. Because whoever was in it before painted it just.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah. But
Yeah,
we all knew
yeah,
it we
it
meant.
works.
And we said Jackson Pollock.
And then one more in a potty over here, huh?
Oh, this is a bathroom. Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Perfect.
Shower down here.
Simple shower.
Usually put your teenage kids down here, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's a great spot.
If you were to give advice to a new investor coming in to start their business, what advice would you give them?
I would say, obviously, dependent on those goals. I've always had the urge to scale up, and I'm a one-man show, don't have a partner. When I have attempted to scale up, it has kicked me in the butt.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you do want to scale up, I would say go slower rather than faster. Make sure you have plenty of capital on hand, whether that's yours or somebody else's that's reliable. I wouldn't say assume the worst because I'm a pretty optimistic person. Mitigate losses as much as you can. You really love this design idea, but it's going to require removing a wall and doing this and doing that. Oh, that'll be cool. Trust me, buyers probably think it's going to be less cool than you do. Especially depending on the house, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're going to stick to that median price, make it safe, make sure everything works, make sure it's clean. When I mean by clean, I don't mean like sweeping, which would be a good idea, but I mean clean like paint jobs,
Right.
Smells good.
new lighting,
Looks
new
good.
trim. It's just
Yeah.
a nice house. make your scope to say, how can I get this on the market as efficiently as possible? That would be I could give you advice for hours. And any sort of advertising you do, make sure it's commiserate with your workload that you can take on.
Sure. Good point. Good point. You know, in the territories that we've been in, we hear from customers, you actually answered your phone.
Yeah.
Right. So that depicts exactly what you were saying.
Absolutely.
In terms of know your workload, because if you can't answer your phone when people are calling you, what do you do in advertising?
Yeah, I answer my phone. I would say I probably get to 90 to 95% of my phone calls. When I'm spending time with my family, my wife knows. Okay.
Yeah, different
Anything
brand,
else?
right?
Yeah.
Hang on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she knows that it's a situation where if you don't put yourself in the shoes of someone who really needs to sell their house,
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
the first one in.
guaranteed, whatever city you're in, no matter how small, you're not the only person in town doing it.
Yeah.
And they're going to find someone else if you don't pick up that phone. And you'll always be the person that called them back and the person that picked up the phone.
Yeah.
The best deal you're going to get is the one where you're the only one in the living room.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is by picking up the phone and being the first person that they talk to.
Yeah, for sure.
Forever the second, you're never the only.
Yeah, it's true. That's good advice.
We make, I don't like to use the word assumption very often. We know going in, we expect that there will be other
Absolutely.
competitors.
Yeah, you have to. It's no different
Absolutely.
than
And
anything
Yeah.
else.
and that's just part of the conversation that we have with people. Is
Definitely.
what else are you going to be talking about?
Yeah. And oftentimes I encourage them to
Absolutely.
talk to some other people.
Yeah.
This is a big decision. It's an emotional decision. You need to collaborate.
Educate.
Yeah,
The best. It's also a relationship too.
absolutely.
When you come down to it and buy or sell a house, it does come down to a relationship
Yeah.
to make that happen.
And through that conversation, if I have learned from them that price is the most important thing to them, I know I'm probably not the right fit.
Right.
Nor is it really any investor. They really need it to go with the
Cool.
product.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I
Yeah.
like it.
good.
Good
Let's
advice. I like it.
start moving out before
All
somebody
right,
shows
yes,
up
before
for the
it's
show.
here.
And we want to
Yes.
make sure.
When I bought this was one parcel. It was 2 addresses, 2 units, but one parcel as far as Denver was concerned.
Yeah.
It was one property. I separated it with the city of
They let you
Denver.
do that?
Yeah.
Good.
What does a process like that look like?
Get yourself an attorney. For me, it was about $2,500 for an attorney, $2,500 for survey, because they have to develop a plat
Okay.
to send to the city. That was about it. They took care of it. If you look on this property in the county, it does show up twice because the county removed the original, but title knows what's going on. So if you ever need to sell it, they'll get it squared
Good.
away. And they got it squared away when I sold that.
And then in terms of exit strategy for you with this, by separating it out as
Yeah.
2 homes, was that the better exit strategy
Well,
for
I
you?
think so, which is why I did it. But it waits to be seen. So there's a couple of challenges, but there's a couple of advantages. Obviously, to me, the advantage was you can sell to 2 different end users, and the price point selling to an end user rather than an investor is going to be a bit higher for you. So I bought this for $365 back in 2020. I sold that side for $360.
Okay.
This is on the market for $519. Just to give you some perspective. Obviously, I spent a decent amount fixing it up, but
Holding costs.
And you held it
holding
for
costs, yeah.
3+
Utilities,
years.
absolutely.
All that fun
Yeah.
stuff.
If I kept it as 1 unit, do the math, was that about
Okay.
$870 total?
For the duplex.
You're probably looking at $600 or $650. So you're giving up quite a bit of equity by doing it. However, it does open itself up to house hacking, buying the entire thing, renting out the other side. And another thing is people can get one loan on it. That makes it a little bit easier as an investor looking at it. It's like I can just get one loan instead of maybe wanting to buy. Before I sold that, I was offering both sides at the same time, but that became a challenge with the 2 notes and trying to make the numbers work and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I think overall, given the equity increase, it makes sense to separate.
Yeah.
That's a
That's a
idea.
good play.
As long as they let you do that.
As long as they let
some
you do it.
cities are getting better at that. I know where we're from these days, areas that won't let you do that. But I think now with some of the rules, they will let you start to do that.
Yeah.
Now they allow 80, the dadoos and stuff.
Yeah.
Fast
And
dwelling units.
I just assumed they would do it. Maybe I shouldn't assume, but the one, like you said, the one right next door is the mirror image of this one,
Yeah.
and they
Crazy.
separated.
Oh,
So
did
I
they?
just like, well,
that helps then. Yeah.
hopefully.
And we've got a garage. Can
We
we
got a garage, absolutely. So this is a 1-car garage. It is completely separate from the same building, but separated.
Oh yeah, you got a little partition. Nice.
Yeah.
You'll put your
Yep.
Prius in here.
Yeah. And then you've got a whole storage right here that's separate.
Oh, perfect.
I think the fix was about 80.
Okay. And that
Yeah.
was on both sides total or just
No.
one side? Just
No, just
fix
this
on this
side.
side
Yeah,
was
yeah.
80.
It does include the roof, which is the entire building.
Sure.
New AC. It did go over budget. I budgeted about 55
Yeah,
for this.
what doesn't go over budget anymore? That's the thing you have
That's
to realize. Everything just
yeah.
costs. Materials just flat out cost more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter who does it.
Found out, and this is one of those learning curve things, that the last 2 weeks of a project, when you're just trying to finish it and do all the finishing work and really watch your labor costs. Yeah, I have edited my modus operandi when it comes to that. And now I'm very handy. I can do a lot of things. So I actually do a lot of the finishing work myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind staying until midnight, touching up little things.
Good for you.
Paying somebody to do that gets very expensive very
Yeah.
fast.
And sometimes they get a little sloppy in the end because
they
they
get very
home and
sloppy.
they just kind of they leave.
Yeah.
And you come back to redo it.
Even the best contractor in the world doesn't care as much about your house as you do.
Yep.
So,
And it's always the last few weeks of the job is the worst because you got to go to the
Yeah.
store 10 times to buy $5 worth of little parts
Yeah.
you need and things that
Yeah.
very frustrating. Believe me.
Yeah. That old, you remember
Yeah,
the
20 years.
bike racing where they start out really slow, which I've never understood? It's a little oval, and then all of a sudden the last lap they all go like this.
Yeah.
I feel like projects are the opposite. They go like this, and then the last lap is like that, getting it ready. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Especially when you set a date it's supposed to be done, it's coming up, and you're like, this isn't done yet. Why isn't this finished?
yeah, absolutely. Oh, and another thing too, to mention a little bit about separating. Again, I'm not a tax accountant, so when I separated, obviously you're basically creating a property out of whole cloth. You're taking one and turning it into two. I looked at the assessments, and then I prorated the original purchase cost between land and building as a basis.
Yeah,
And
you almost have to change it, don't you?
yeah, you have to create a property in your books because otherwise you don't have an asset.
Had it for so long, more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
How did you? So it was a home investor's lead, and you've had it for more than almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
How did you pay for it?
So some cash,
Okay.
and then some lender. I
Okay.
used a hard money lender. Yeah.
So do you still have a hard money loan on it then?
I do.
Because typically they're 6 months to a year. Did you extend it?
I did extend it.
Okay.
And then that particular lender offered an 18-month
Okay.
loan. So I
Just
do have an
knowing.
18-month loan on this.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I bought this, the seller was still living in it.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned.
So
So
I actually got a DSCR loan.
perfect. Okay.
on it.
Okay, good. That
Yeah.
helps a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I switched out to a hard money loan because I wanted to get a little cash out of it. So I actually
Okay.
did like a hard money cash out refi
Okay.
to get some money out of it to pay for the rehab.
Oh, perfect.
I knew that there was going to be, again, trying to learn from my mistakes. Like, because I've run into it before where properties sit in queue for a while waiting to get fixed up, which I
Yeah.
no longer do. I'm working one at a time now. No more letting them accumulate.
Sitting there waiting.
Yeah, sitting there waiting. So I did 18 months, just
Okay.
kind of anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not worry about, because I've had it where it's run into that 12 month and then they're like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, it's for sale or whatever. And then you obviously have to pay most loans. You got to pay like 1 or 2% origination.
Right.
So re-origination cost and just more
That gets
money.
expensive.
It gets
Yeah,
real
adds
expensive
up.
real fast.
I was just curious. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Beautiful. So you had it staged.
I had stage, yep.
Now you've had this on the market though for a few months. So how you've had the staging all this time? Oops,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, it's a great place to store it too. Yeah,
It's cute.
the staging. This is my own stuff.
Oh,
Okay.
that's your own stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it even easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got an office and I've got a box truck, and the box truck comes in really handy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I got a great deal on it.
Moving in for
It's
sure.
got a hydraulic lift, so if I ever have to move a
cute.
stove or anything by
Oh,
myself,
wow.
I can get it without killing
awesome.
me.
Nice. We got 2 up and one
Two
one
up.
bathroom.
Yeah, 2 and 1. So it's 2 and 1 up, 2 and 1 down. Yeah. This is the one where I really had to make a choice.
Okay.
So originally this was a regular wall outdoor. Right.
Oh.
doorway. Yeah.
So we extended it out here and we walked into the kitchen. The main reason I made that decision, because I could have, which probably would have netted me a sale already, but the expense would have gotten me a lot more significant. And I would have had this issue of what do I do with this right
Yeah,
here?
I was just gonna say you're gonna lose your spot for your fridge.
Yeah.
You got a window here, so
This
you
was
can't
all
put it here.
existing.
Yeah.
You got to worry about this is a old gas, so this is an electric stove, but there is a gas line down there.
Oh, good.
And again, a decision I had to make is because this is an old house. Code didn't require a vent for gas. So there was no vent there. So I'm like, do I create a vent all the way through the roof? My brand new roof, by the way. And I was thinking, why don't I put an electric in there and call it good? Especially with price point. Again, this is not $1 million home. In Denver, $1 million home is not an extravagant home, but it's a nice home. People expect certain things that, frankly, at this price point, they may not expect. And so if I opened up this entire wall, now where does everything go?
Right.
Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
with the window here.
Yeah.
There's really no window here. You can
No
put
window there,
this
so
way,
the
but
the
instead of this way,
choices-
and we've talked about that in the video before. A
Mhm.
lot of our houses, sometimes you just can't. You want to take the wall, you just can't. Doesn't make sense for one. Two, that your kitchen would be no uppers.
Yeah.
Like no upper space,
Exactly.
no fridge space,
And even if I took the wall out to here, now I've got a fridge over there that's a little awkward because I have to walk around it to get downstairs. So it's just like,
and this leaves space for a table here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, the woman who lived here previously had her big table right here. It shrank the kitchen quite a bit. She lived here alone and she had a nice table she used as a shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the types of decisions when I'm sitting in the house and figuring out what to do is time, cost, and then obviously the net benefit. Because I love opening up kitchens. I really do. But in this one, it just didn't make sense. My personal journey in real estate investing is I go for cost and quality, which involves me getting a lot more involved in actually doing the work. Which is a little bit more time. The good news is for me is I love doing it.
Yeah.
I really do. Like
That's good.
it's buying properties, like trying to help people out,
Yeah.
getting in the living room and figuring out a different solution to make their pain go away. I love that. And I love getting in here, putting on my knee pads and fixing up baseboards.
That's awesome.
This job is a lot of work, a lot of stress, a lot of up and down, but it just doesn't have the same feel as going to some workplace and
Flexibility though too.
Oh, there's a lot of flexibility,
You
yeah.
go home, you can deal with stuff.
Yeah, I get to spend some time with my 6-year-old daughter at her school just having an event.
So good.
I
On
love that.
Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Those
do
grass
that.
camp.
I'm gonna go do that. Yeah. Some points in my real estate career, 9-10 properties at once, kind of just sitting there. And the vacations aren't really vacations. Even if they're just sitting there, something's going on.
Yeah.
You got to pay some bill. Last January of 2024, about a week away from fixing up a house in Aurora, one of my head crew guys shows up at 9 a.m. and the garage is an ice rink.
Flood.
Yeah, flooded from upstairs, the whole house.
Yeah.
And because the garage was the only unheated part of the house, it had completely frozen solid like an ice rink.
Yikes.
That was one of those things where probably unpreventable, but if I didn't have a million plates spinning and it was the only project I was working on, perhaps it could have either been avoided or maybe not caught after so much damage. Those are all things I now consider when I'm buying a home, where if it's a home that would be perfect to fix up, but it's a 45 minute to an hour drive, that might be a better fit to assign or wholesale to another franchisee or just anyone in your network. Go on to the next and just realize you are leaving some money on the table, but there's opportunity costs to everything.
It also goes back to your goals and not wanting to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time driving back and forth. And
Yeah,
relate,
absolutely.
like,
So
slow
you
down
can have some
yourself,
work-life balance.
Yes, work-life balance, and you never know when that next lead might come in and it's perfect, but now you've got this kind of quagmire going on about an hour away, and this one would be perfect to do, but
Yeah.
your capital is already spent.
Yeah.
Fix that up. So
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, this has been amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
for sharing your story
you're welcome.
with us. And what else? Be sure to like, comment.
Comment, subscribe,
There's all that.
notification bells.
That's
apparently.
right. Really appreciate your
Yeah.
time.
Oh, thank you. I
Knowledgeable,
appreciate it.
huge.
Yeah.
This
This
is gonna sell.
Yeah,
it's
we
gonna
feel
sell.
it.
This week.
Oh, I have no doubt this will sell. This is a nice place for somebody.
It looks good. Smells good.
It does.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the
Back
field.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.